Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where Karens seem to think that anyone is an employee and needs to serve them. And in today's episode, guys, we've got Karens attacking people with cell phones, harassing customers, lying to police. It's a wild one. I hope you enjoy the stories today. Don't shake your heads too hard. And as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. So first is a bit of backstory. My brother is one of the managers at the Costco near my college. So instead of wasting money on a monthly bus pass, I hang around Costco after classes until my brother finishes his shift and I catch a ride with him. But something happened the other day while I was waiting that I just had to share. So I had just finished up classes and I made my way to Costco. Once inside, I found my brother and a few other employees that I'm friends with, and we talked for a few minutes until they had to go back to work. And that's when I decided to look around at some of the new stuff they were selling. I was in the middle of browsing through clothes when I felt a harsh tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see a lady with her blonde, grayish hair with a face that literally looks like a bulldog that was chewing on a wasp. The lady holds up a pair of jeans and says, "Hey, do you have these in a size 14? I replied, "Oh, sorry miss, I don't work here, but that woman does," pointing to an actual Costco employee that's folding clothes. The lady now looks annoyed and says, "I saw you chatting with the other employees and a manager less than a minute ago. He told you to go fold clothes, so could you stop being lazy for 1 second and get me a pair of jeans?" I say to her, "Ma'am, just because I may know and talk to the workers does not mean I work here myself. And nobody told me to fold clothes because I don't work here." Of course, the woman was having none of it and she starts berating me, saying that I should be more respectful to customers in Costco and that she doesn't pay an annual membership to have bad customer service. Luckily, one of my brother's friends saw what was happening and rushed over to help. We'll call her Carrie for the story. So Carrie rushes over and says, "Excuse me, miss, is everything all right?" The Karen says, "No. I'm absolutely disgusted with the service I'm getting here. I pay a lot of money for an executive membership, you know, and I will not tolerate this. I demand to speak to a manager right now." At that, Carrie gives me a worried look and says, "I'm sorry, miss, but she doesn't work here." Hearing Carrie say that, the lady got even more pissed at this point, and then she forcibly grabs my arm and tries to drag me, demanding to see the manager while Carrie was trying to get the lady to stop. She didn't drag me very far at all, and my brother runs over really quick. He looked at the pissed old lady and then to me as if to say, "What's going on?" And once again, the woman starts yelling, saying how disrespectful I am and how I should be sacked. Halfway through her rant, my brother loses it, telling her to stay quiet and saying that I wasn't an employee. However, I was his sister, and if she didn't stop her harassment, he would call the police. She was as pale as a ghost now, but me, being the idiot I was, started snickering at the situation. That's when Karen turned to me red-eyed, and she literally tried to slap me, before my brother grabs her hand and had her escorted out the building with a permanent ban on her head. Well, that escalated real quick, guys. Like, that woman went from, "I pay good money for an executive level membership," to not being able to pay for a membership at all anymore. Like, people need to learn to keep their hands to themselves. I've said it so many times, and honestly, I'm surprised at the amount of people who just willingly let Karens drag them or attempt to drag them. Like, as soon as a Karen grabs my wrist, guys, I would be karate chopping that arm so fast. Hashtag I'm very badass. Don't mess with me. So me and my man together have 5 kids. He has 2 and I have 3. I love all of them dearly, but it can get a little cramped in our home, so we take whatever alone time we can get. Any hoozles, today we decide to take a trip to the large orange home improvement store. And something to mention is, my man adores safety orange. He's got like 9 bright orange shirts, an orange zipper hoodie, and a beanie that's truly eye-catching. He happened to be wearing one such outfit today. So there we are, hanging out in one of the aisles of the store, looking for a pipe plug, when I hear a telltale clearing of the throat. Being a regular lurker on the sub, I give my hubby a kiss on the cheek to let her know that he's not an employee, and then I take his hand and we walk to the next aisle. He gives me a funny look but shrugs it off and accepts it. The next aisle over is flooring. That's when I hear a louder ahem from the end of the aisle, and I look over, and Karen's, I'm not even kidding, got her arms crossed and she's tapping her foot. I don't want what's happened to so many others on here to happen to me. So I jump the gun and I say, stop, to her. I wanted something that was short and sweet, but would send the message, leave us alone, without actually making it seem like I was getting aggressive. Now it sort of had the desired effect, and she looked beyond startled and shocked, and a bit confused. The look was awesome, and that's when she walked away. I thought I had achieved what I thought was impossible, but no. We continued to browse for another 20 minutes when nature decides to call, and I ran to the ladies' room. Apparently, this Karen waited until I left, and she immediately pounced. She was literally waiting for my husband. My husband was just perusing the tiling, waiting for me, when she grabs his shoulders, spins him around, and she pokes him and starts saying, "Finally you finished with her, it took forever, now get me this." And this is where I come back in. I come back just in time to hear my husband telling her I don't work here, and Karen saying, "Don't give me that. No one wears this color by choice. You obviously work here, so stop lying." The woman's getting very angry, and that's when I see Karen poking my husband. I grab her wrist and pushed her hand away, and that's when she screams, "Assault! You just assaulted me." And hearing that, I smirk because 1, she finally had probably alerted one of the actual staff, and 2, I had her on the ropes, she just didn't know it yet. I then look at her square in the face and say, "And what exactly would you call what you were just doing to my husband?" And that's when Karen snorts and says, "I was teaching this employee some manners. He needs to learn to not ignore customers." I respond, "Are you blind and deaf? First of all, you mistook his orange shirt as an employee's uniform, and second, no one would lie about their place of employment while at work." Karen then splutters for a second, and she spouted something along the lines of, "You shouldn't talk to people like that." To which I replied, "Now get the F out of our faces before I lose my cool, lady." To which Karen recoiled, "You'd go to jail if you did something to me." I then laugh out loud and say, "You mean I'd get free room and board, peace and quiet from my kids, and I'd have taught an entitled bitch a lesson? Don't get me excited." The woman then backpedaled so fast, I swear you could see her kicking up dust. Shortly after she left, one of the employees comes around the corner and looked at us checking out tiles and kept walking. They really need to hire more people if it took that long to come check out the ruckus. We bought our tiles and headed to the parking lot. Yeah, if it's the big orange hardware store that I think it is, the ones I've been to, guys, definitely need more people on the floor. And I gotta ask, what's wrong with wearing bright orange, Karen? Like, I actually laughed out loud when the lady was like, "Nobody wears that color by choice." With that said, Opie handled that really well though. I get to teach a Karen a lesson today? Don't get me excited, lady. I was in the military for a few years, and being in the military, you deal with quite a few, how do I say this nicely, special supervisors. Well, this story is about the special wife of a special supervisor. It was a Tuesday, my day off, so I went to the store on base to buy a new Xbox. Now obviously I couldn't just buy an Xbox, I also had to get another controller, a headset, and the game I wanted to play. As I was looking through the electronics department, I overheard a conversation between Karen and a store employee. I hear the woman say, "Hey, come here right now." The employee says, "How can I help you, ma'am?" Karen says to him, "I want this TV and the best sound system to go with it." The employee says, "Well, based off of this, I would recommend blah blah blah. It's the top of the line for its price." Karen then asked, "How much will it be total?" The employee tells her it'll be around $1,800, not including tax. And that's when Karen says, "I'm not paying that much for this. Give me a discount." The employee tells her, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't give you a discount on these items. I'm not authorized to do so." And that's when Karen tells him, "Do you know who I am? I'm Karen, the wife of an 06, who's the commander of this group. Now you need to give me a discount or else my husband will have your boss take away your minimum wage job." Hearing that, I was getting pretty pissed. I hate when people try to get what they want by pulling the rank of their spouses. And the way this lady was talking to this employee was deplorable. So I walked closer, acting like I was looking at the TVs that were next to them. Karen was so busy screaming at the guy that she didn't notice me. And it got to the point where Karen was wailing for the manager. The store employee tried to explain that he's not able to give discounts on these items, and his manager's in a meeting and won't be able to come out to talk to her until he's done. Karen says, "I don't give a crap where your manager is. I want him out here right now." The employee tells her, "Ma'am, I need you to be civil or else I'll have to ask you to leave." Karen says, "I will not be civil. You are being a crook and trying to steal money from people by selling overpriced items." Now, for those who don't know, military stores are generally the same price. Karen continued to make a scene, threatening the employee with actions against his job. And that's when the store employee says, "Ma'am, I need you to leave." The store employee proceeds to walk towards Karen's cart, and Karen raises her purse towards him in a swinging motion. That's where I step in and grab her purse before she has a chance to hit him. And Karen screams at me and says, "Who the hell do you think you are? You need to get off me. Do you know who I am?" I say to her, "Yeah, I know who you are. The whole store knows who you are because of how loud you're being. He asked you to leave. Now get out of here before I call the security forces on you for attempting to assault this employee." Karen says, "I will have my husband take his job, and I'll make sure you get demoted and lose your pay." I say to her, "Good luck with that. You don't even know who I am. Now leave." That's when Karen proceeds to take her cart and ram it into my side, pinning my ankle under her cart. She then proceeds to hit me with her purse. And at this point, I lost my mind, and the employees had enough of Karen. I push the cart off me, grab her arm, and together with the store employee, we proceed to drag her out of the store. As we're dragging her out, she's kicking everything in her reach, knocking stuff off the shelves, and she's screaming, "I'm calling my husband. You too are in deep trouble." To which I say to her, "I'll be here shopping for the next 20 minutes. I then walk back inside. The store employee proceeds to thank me profusely and helps me pick out the right stuff for my Xbox. As I'm walking out of the store, I hear it. Karen screams, "There he is." Karen and her 06 husband storm over to me, and her husband says, "Who are you? What's your rank? What squadron are you with? And who the hell do you think you are assaulting my wife? I'm going to have you demoted." I then interrupt him and say, "With all due respect, sir, your wife tried to assault a store employee and she assaulted me. She's lucky I'm not calling the security forces to charge her with assault." I guess they called them already because they show up, and the 06 tells them that I assaulted his wife and he wants me arrested and thrown in jail, pending action. At this point, the store employee notices what's happening outside and he walks out. He then explains to the men what happened in the store, and the security forces ask if there's video footage, and there sure is. He takes them back to the audio room, purposefully taking them through the carnage that Karen caused, and showed them the tapes. They then say to the husband, "I'm sorry, but the story that they told me checks out. Your wife assaulted them and destroyed store merchandise." And at this point, the husband flips out. He says to me, "I'm calling your commander, and I'm going to tell him everything. I'm going to make sure he knows how you talked to me and disrespected an officer." That's when we hear another voice say, "What's going on?" The 06 turns around and sees the base commander standing there with his entourage. Apparently, the commander was the one in the meeting with the store manager. They were discussing a future influx of personnel due to a new unit being added to the base. Apparently, he had also heard everything that's been going on. The base commander says, "I want you in my office in 30 minutes in your dress uniform." And with that, 06 and Karen walk off. The base commander then turns to me and says, "I'll make sure to inform your commander about what happened." In the end, the 06 was removed from his position as group commander for his and his wife's conduct. Apparently, he's also done other things in the recent past that also put him in hot water, but this was the straw that broke the camel's back. He and his wife were reassigned to a different base, and the last I heard is that he wasn't allowed back into a leadership position and was stripped 2 ranks. Yeah, I can't say he didn't deserve that. Like, shame on Karen and her husband for letting a position of power get to their heads. And it's so stupid though, like, my husband is this rank, so you need to give me a discount. I refuse to pay this much money when my husband's a commander. Like, holy cow, can you get more entitled than that? So for a little background, I would explain that I suffer from a rare disease. I'm literally 1 in a million, and I visit the hospital a lot. Not the emergency room, but the outpatient wing. For the past 2 years, I've had follow-up visits and other appointments, like MRIs, X-rays, blood testing, almost every 2 weeks. It can sound weird, but rare diseases never come alone, and mine loves company. What I mean is, I have a lot of secondary conditions caused by having a rare disease, and every one of these conditions is treated by a different specialist, hence the many visits I've had for the past 2 years. Fun, I know. Also, about myself is I'm of African descent. I also always wear black or really dark colors, and my head is shaved. I also have PTSD because of being treated like a liar and a drug seeker or mentally ill for years due to my conditions. A week ago, I was at the hospital looking for my new doctor. It was my first time seeing this particular doctor, so I arrived with plenty of time. I was looking around, trying to find the place, when a wild Karen appears. All of a sudden, I see this fluorescent blob coming from my right side as a nightmare in neon, and Karen screams, "What do you think you're doing?" I was very confused, and I say, "Excuse me?" Karen says, "What do you think you're doing?" At this point, there were so many thoughts running through my mind, like who is this lady? Why is she yelling at me? But most importantly, I was trying very hard to control myself, since doctor's appointments trigger my PTSD, especially when I see a new doctor. PTSD can make me react in two opposite manners. I can either have a panic attack, or I'm the most passive-aggressive person that you've ever come across. I say to her, I think you've mistaken me for someone else. Karen says, I think not. I've seen you here a gazillion times. I reply, and what do you want? And maybe it sounded rude, but I was trying really hard not to panic. Karen says, what do I want? Why is my poor son still waiting for the doctor to see him when we've been here for hours? I begin to tell her, I don't know. Again, I don't. And that's when she interrupts me and says, why? Why don't you know? The screech was so loud that I saw people in the waiting room covering their ears. She then says, it's your job to tell the doctors we're here. I say to her, no, it's not. She then interrupts me again to make it clear that she was better than me. Karen says to me, you filthy immigrants come to our country, steal our jobs, claim our benefits, and you don't even bother to do your jobs correctly. Hearing that, I was baffled and pissed. The passive-aggressive me was starting to show up. I say to her, first of all, we're speaking the same language. Second, I'm a citizen. I was born in this country. And third, and most important, I'm a patient. I do not work at this hospital. Karen says, no, you're not. I've seen you here a lot of times. At this point, people waiting for their appointments were starting to pay attention to us. There I was, in the middle of a corridor, having a ridiculous argument with Karen. I then say to her, oh, since you've seen me here so many times, I have to work here, right? But I have to ask you this, have you ever seen me in uniform? The woman hesitated for a while, but then she starts lying and says, of course I have. I've seen you wearing one of those blue scrubs. I say to her, oh really, blue scrubs? Only emergency staff wears blue scrubs. And what's my position in this hospital? Karen says, you're one of those nurses at the front desk. And I burst into laughter. More like a nervous laughter, trying to calm down because this woman was being so ridiculous. I say to her, ma'am, I do not work here. And even if I did work here, I would never help you. You are so rude. Karen then says to me, you're lying, and I'm going to complain, and you are going to get fired. Her face was as pink as the tracksuit she was wearing. And I say to Karen, good luck trying to fire someone that doesn't work here. At this point, even her son was laughing, and he apologized to me saying, I'm sorry, my mom gets very upset when I have to visit the doctor. I then start to walk away, trying to focus on looking for the rare diseases department, or at least a real staff member that could help me. I was fuming, but I tried to stay calm, and all of a sudden, I see a black object flying right past me, landing with a hard thud on the floor. It was a mobile phone in a heavy-duty case, and Karen says, how dare you turn your back on me? I turn around and say, did you just throw your phone at me? Listen here, if you try to hit me again, I will fight back. I don't work here, I never did. And even if I did, you're not entitled to treat anyone like that. Who do you think you are? I was so worked up at this point that I was feeling my heart beat in my head. I was also feeling dizzy, my vision was blurring, and I could barely hear anything. I don't remember much from this point on because I fainted. When I recovered consciousness, security was there. Also, a couple of nurses were taking care of me and trying to put me on a stretcher. Karen was fake crying and complaining about me. I didn't hear what she said, but I heard a guy who was security say, "I know, that's why we're here. We saw everything through the cameras." Karen was stubbornly sticking to her lies, and she starts mumbling something in the lines of, "She was rude to me. She's refusing to help me. She should get fired." And that's when one of the nurses, who I know from previous visits, says to her, "She does not work at this hospital." And Karen says, "If she doesn't work here, why have I seen her every single time I've come here?" The nurse says to her, "Because she's a regular patient and the hospital are full of them." Karen literally has nothing to say at this point, and she says the dumbest thing possible. She says, "Well, then you shouldn't let people like her wander around the hospital. What if we caught whatever she has? I don't want to be bald like her." She was then interrupted by the security guy to tell her police were on their way, and instead of being a rational human being, Karen starts yelling that she was being attacked by security. When police arrived, I was on a stretcher, and yet she was claiming to be the victim. I was sent to the ER, so I don't know what happened until much later. This story went as follows. The police retrieved all the security footage, and since the incident happened in a public place, she was immediately charged with aggravated disruption of public order and aggravated assault. Picking a fight in a hospital and assaulting a disabled person are aggravating circumstances in my country, but that's not the funniest part of the story. When I was in the ER, the nurse I know came to visit and she told me the whole thing. In every hospital in the region, there's a machine at the entrance of every outpatient area. When you leave the elevator or the staircase, this machine greets you with a really big sign on its screen that reads, "Before you enter the waiting room, please let us know that you're here." When you get closer to it, you can see a smaller sign that reads, "Please enter your health service card in the slot." After the machine reads your card, it tells you which office is your doctor's, and then your name appears on a monitor above the doctor's office. Basically, this machine is like a clock-in system, and guess what? Karen never put the card in the slot. In the end, I did miss my appointment, but I was rescheduled for the following week. Guys, why am I not surprised that all of that was caused by Karen's stupid mistake of not reading signs? And it also baffles me that Karens also never back down. Like, they literally wait for police to come, thinking they've got the upper hand. And it almost never works out ever, guys. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /IDontWorkHereLady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, it's an r/ entitled People episode, where OP inherits a mansion and the rest of his family goes bonkers because he doesn't deserve it. Go check it out if you haven't, and my